Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching. I'm your host, Amari G. Welcome back to another episode of my Digital Episodic Series. If this is your first time tuning in, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Today, I'm sitting alongside Houston's #1 investment real estate advisor, Anthony Ford. Pleasure coming out, man.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, let's get right into it, man. What was the environment like growing up in South Sunnyside, Houston?
Oh man, if I had to describe it, I'd say rough,
Okay.
tough. It's ranked, I think, 2 or 3, the second or third most dangerous neighborhood in the United States. So it's pretty tough. I mean, but it makes or break you. So
Absolutely.
it's one of those things where it's a lot of love, a lot of challenges, and so you get to pick. You get to pick a balance. You know, you're gonna get into some stuff, and you also gonna get some love. And that's why I think a lot of people don't realize in those tough neighborhoods, there's a lot of love as well, but for the most part, it's tough and rugged, and I mean, it's kind of like crabs in a bucket.
Right. Okay, so growing up, I know your father was an entrepreneur as well.
Right.
So what was the driving factor behind, taking a step back from college and taking over the family landscaping business?
So my dad actually did a lot of his young adult life in prison. So we had me. I was the eldest of 5. So I kind of grew up kind of underneath his wing. I really didn't have a childhood. If you could imagine somebody, father being on the streets, mom working a part-time job. So when he got out of jail, he was so used to making fast money. So he started a landscaping company, just cutting grass and planting flowers and that sort of thing. And so I was so eager to see him when he made it out of jail, where I would do anything to be around him. So that meant going to work for him in the summertime. Well, I was like 7 or 8 years old. By the time I got 16, being the eldest of 5, my mom still being a stay-at-home mom, not working, we needed that extra income. So I started running the business kind of halfway through high school. So, and then by the time I became sophomore in college, it was like we were faced with so much debt as a family, and so I had to help out. And so I kind of fell into that role before I graduated college.
Okay, so what are your views on a college education? Do you feel college is for everyone?
I mean, no, I don't think, I really don't feel like college is for everyone. I feel like furthering your education in life, furthering yourself, evolving, can take on many different roles or many different vehicles. And
Right.
so education is just one of them. And to me, of course, I think that everybody should go and finish college and get a degree, but I don't think that that limits your success if you don't.
So you were named Houston's #1 investment real estate advisor. Okay, so how did working as a door salesman introduce you into real estate?
That's a good question. So like the only job I had, right, was knocking doors for Time Warner Cable, which is a local cable company here in Houston, Texas. And so we would get these lists of properties or houses, apartments, whatever, that didn't have didn't have cable services. And we would look, and it was up to us to sell them. And so you got to go knock on the door, and you literally had, probably like about 5 to 7 seconds to sell that person when they open the door.
Oh, wow.
I mean, because you're cold knocking, not cold calling, you're cold knocking, like, hey, and you got your badge on, you've got a Time Warner company shirt on, and you're sweating bullets because it's hot outside.
Right, in that Texas heat.
I'm telling you, and you've got to knock on these doors when people are home. So in the summertime, that's during the day, and during the regular seasons of the year, then that's after working hours, after school hours. So you're there, and you're hoping that they just give you a shot. And so you have to have your sales pitch packed. Like, you have to have it down packed. And so that kind of prepared me for representing myself well. I could tell you about myself in less than 10 seconds, and it would be a call to action to it. I mean, I would tell you what I do, what I have to offer, and then ask you for your participation, like sign here, or $25 to get started, whatever the case was. And so that prepared me to just be an entrepreneur, to be able to sell myself in any environment, and to also know enough about my product to be able to tell you and convince you in record time. So it's a good segue. I didn't know I was being prepared for a career like this, but God work in mysterious ways. So.
Absolutely. Yes. So what I found that was very interesting, something you did that I admire a lot. Not a lot of young people, especially my age, will take on that responsibility. So, man, you bought your first house at 21.
Oh, yeah.
So, is it a better financial decision to rent a home instead of buying a home?
Of course it is. Because when you're renting, you're making somebody else rich through paying their mortgage and giving them money on top for residual income, right? So if someone's mortgage is $1,000 and you're paying $1,400, then you're paying their mortgage and you're giving them money for their pocket. So you're essentially throwing the money away. So I definitely value home ownership over renting, if you could do that. Now I did it kind of in a record time, so I don't propose that everyone is 21 or even 25 and under could embark upon something like that. But again, you have to go back to kind of what I said, how I led my family. So at 21, my mindset was probably that of a 30-year-old.
Absolutely.
So it's a little different. But yeah, definitely overall, renting versus purchasing is gonna win all day. It's the American dream for a reason.
Right. So you already had that responsibility in you. So
Yeah.
right. So man, the Houston market during the pandemic has went up 28% more this year for homes that are selling between $250,000 to $500K. How has the pandemic affected the real estate market?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So, first of all, let's talk about interest rates.
Right.
Because of the pandemic, the feds have lowered the interest rate, and they are historically low. I just locked a family in maybe like a week ago for a 2.8 interest rate. When normal interest rates are about 4.
Right.
And then before that, they were hovering around 6 to 10%, just maybe about 10, 12 years ago, something like that. So they're historically low. So that's another thing. That's the first thing that's really driving the home ownership numbers up. But then the other thing is that in Texas, to own a property for under $500,000 is great, but it's common. Whereas if you pick up a house here and take it from Texas and take it to California, you're talking about, you're from Cali.
A huge difference.
Yeah. So a $300,000 house here, that may be a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, probably about 1,700 square feet or so. So not even a large house, would be $300,000 here. You pick it up and put it in the hood in California, and it's worth $800K.
Right.
You put it in the hills, and it's worth millions. And so, with that being said, a lot of people are coming down and traveling to Houston, and then they're liking what they see, and they have a plan to come back years after they visit on a vacation or what have you, or they have family out here and learning how affordable it is. And then the other thing is that you have to understand that a lot of people are furloughed or working from home. And so now, where a family used to spend about maybe 4 or 5 hours, active hours in their home, meaning you come home from work about 5:36 after traffic, and then you're gonna eat. So then you're gonna go to bed about 10. So you were there from like 6 to 10 actively, and then you sleep again, and you wake up at 6:30, 7, 8 maybe.
Yeah.
So, but now when you're working from home and you're schooling your kids from home because they're learning virtual now, then you're spending 24 hours at home.
Right.
Or at least 18, 19 hours. You may go to the post office, you may go to the grocery store, you may go out and jog or ride the bike, but you're spending a great deal of your time at home. And so now people are putting more emphasis on at home. They want a game room, they want an office, they want separate living areas.
Space.
Absolutely, and more amenities and that sort of thing. So those are my top 3 reasons I think why the Houston market is responding the way it's been responding.
Yeah, it's real estate.
It's been a blessing.
Yes, a blessing in disguise.
Yeah,
especially, real estate has been making a killing during this pandemic. Absolutely. So, for the people that are watching that are interested in going into real estate, what are other ways to create revenue within real estate outside of just being a realtor?
That's a really good question. Okay, I like it. So
Can't compare it now.
I see your audience are going to benefit greatly from these questions. So I always tell people there are so many different facets to real estate.
Right.
I mean, you have, of course, your regular agency buying and selling. That's not what you're asking about. On top of that, you can get into investments. In the investment corridor, there's still other subtopics that you can put under investments, which is wholesaling. You can actually be an active investor, meaning that you actually buy the property, fix it up, turn around and rent it or sell it. That's been active. Or you can be a little passive, which is what I said before with wholesaling. You can find a seller, match them up with a buyer, and make a wholesale fee or an assignment fee. Then there's also apartment locating. You can deal with vacation rentals. You can do vacation investments. You know, some people who have traveled abroad, they may have connections. I know every time I travel somewhere, I make a friend. No matter what country I'm in, what city, what state, I always have a couple of friends. It's like, come on back down, or, you know, anything you want, you know, I got you. And so those same connections, I make those same connections in real estate. And so you can focus on vacation rentals, you know, selling Airbnb like properties to investors. So there's a lot of different ways to make money in real estate outside of your regular, you know, being an agent, helping people buy and sell homes.
A lot of different vehicles you can drive in real estate. So
Absolutely.
You've had your foot all on the gas. So tell me, man, what does your company, My Investment Deals, offer to the real estate industry?
Good question. So My Investment Deals, what we do is we take on regular people who have money, that have the cash or the bankability, but don't have the time.
Right.
They either lack the time or they lack the know-how. And so we take them on as clients. That goes that lines them up with their retirement plan or their legacy plan. We have both. What do you want to leave your kids when you die?
Right.
Or what do you want to live like after working, you know, or retirement age, that sort of thing. And so we figure out what that is, and then we identify projects that fit those criteria, and then we actually hold their hand throughout the entire process. It's a turnkey service. So we're going to locate the property for you. We're going to handle the financing if you're not purchasing all cash.
All the groundwork.
All the groundwork.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So for people like myself and yourself as well, who come from underserved and underserviced communities, how important is it to have ownership or owning your own home or just having land in general?
Very important. I mean, very important. I think everybody knows that he who has the land really wins. And you know, property sits on land, so property is included in that. But you definitely want to own, because then from there you get to write your narrative in your neighborhood or your block where you live at. So it's definitely key. I mean, if we're renting, I mean, we can get kicked out with just a stroke of a pen.
You have no power.
Absolutely.
You have no power. Right. So speaking of power, what is your perspective on investing in stocks? Me personally, the reason why I avoid putting my money into stocks is because I feel like I just don't have any control of it. Mm-hmm. So I know you've invested in stocks throughout your career. So what is your perspective on the stock market?
The stock market is kind of volatile for me, because I don't really understand it as much as I understand real estate. So the bulk of my investments are going to be real estate based.
Okay.
I mean, I love investing in the stock market. I think everybody should have some diversity to their portfolio, and stocks should be part of it. But for me, I'm more of a passive investor when it comes to stocks. So I need the same services that I provide for real estate. I need that for stocks. So I need someone.
Put it right back.
Yeah. So I have a financial advisor that says, "Hey, you want to put some money over here, and this is how it's going to perform," because he knows what my family legacy is and what my retirement goals are. So I kind of leave that up to him. I love it. I love to participate, but I'm not as educated as I would like to be to demand it. Therefore, I got to go back to what you said. I don't have as much as control as I would like to have over that particular investment vehicle as I do in real estate.
So do you feel that is why most people, specifically people of color, avoid putting their money into the stock market because of the control, the knowledge of it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think there's far more education that you can find online, YouTube, that talks about real estate investing more than it breaks down the stock market and how to invest.
another one of highlights throughout your career, man, that hopefully one day that I could embark on this journey as well. So you co-authored alongside millionaire Dan Kennedy on a bestseller entitled Stand Apart. What tactics or strategies do you believe is vital in order to separate yourself from your competition?
Wow, it's another good question. I would say just stay in your lane. Right. Do what comes natural to you. That sounds simple, but in order to get to that point, you have to go through a journey. And in order to go through the journey, you have to be on a discovering path. So you have to ask, and asking is given. You have to ask for what you want. And so when you ask for what you want, and I'm talking about asking your spirit, like yearning, like going after it. And so after you've gone through that process, then you know what your lane is. And so doing the opposite of what you want to do, some kind of way steers you towards your path, even still. And so I think that the best advice that I can give anyone is to just find out what you naturally love to do. And if you naturally love to do it and you would do it for free, not to say that you need to do it for free, but you love it that much, it's a passion, then the money will come. I believe that money is a byproduct, meaning that money comes after you do something else. So if I can provide a service that I'm proud of and I know without a shadow of a doubt that I'm passionate about, and then if I can tailor it to a specific group of people, the riches are in the niches. So if you find a niche, that's where it's at. So you find out, how can what I do, what I love, how can I find a certain group of people? It doesn't have to be 1 million people. You can make $1 million just off a set group of people because we're so diverse. I think it's 6.5 million people here in Houston. And then of course we're going on another census, so I'm sure that the population is going to be reported to grow even rapidly. So, but as the last report, about 6.5 million people. If you just had a service going to 100,000 people, you can make $1 million. And so at the end of the day, you just have to figure out that niche. What do people want? Look at Uber. Mm-hmm. Right. I for one hate taxis. Every time I go to New York, I would have to get a black car, which was $75 no matter which way you go. So my New York trips were expensive. Or I would ride the subway because I love the subway. Me being from Sunnyside, I kind of got a little hood in me. So I got to go to everybody's hood. Every time I go to a different city, a different country, I want to know where the hood at. I want to know where the locals at. Again, it's a lot of love. Yeah, it's dangerous, but it's a lot of love there as well I can identify with. So if I went on the subway, then you catch me catching in a black car, a Lincoln Town car, Escalade, or a Tahoe, or whatever. And that black car service was costing me $75. And so I would have to say, okay, if I have time, then I'll jump on the subway. If I'm hurrying from my hotel to my destination, I've got to get a black car. But it was so expensive. And then here Uber said, you know what, there's a problem. Let me find a solution. And then I'll be able to create a niche. Now that doesn't put the taxi business out of service forever or immediately. But what it does is people like myself, which they found out was millions of people, that say, you know what, I hate taxis too. They're rude, the exhaust and the emissions are always not on point. And I'm smelling fumes out the back seat. The guy's rude. You know, the plastic plexiglass is not clean. There you go. Yeah. And so I think that if you pair a solution-based business with within your blueprint, you'll definitely see success.
All right. And your success and everybody's success moving forward all started by breaking and getting out of their comfort zone.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's holding a lot of people's back.
Yeah. Well, how am I going to follow you if you don't know who you are?
Right.
And so you have to get out of your cocoon in order to lead me. And there's nothing wrong with you discovering that, but I'm just not going to follow you or get a service from you until I know you're confident in what you're doing. And so, and this goes back to me being a direct sales rep for a time when I paid. You know, I'm knocking on the door and I'm telling you, this was my line, right? So I knock on the door. I knock on the door, and I mean, it just depends on the family. So first of all, I already have like a printout. This is before the internet was popular, right?
Right.
So I feel old.
You got the favorite.
Yes. So I've got paper, you kind of like, you flip the paper, you're looking at the addresses, and you're like, okay, now there's no such thing as GPS. So you've got a key map book that you're looking in. It's crazy, right?
Ooh, I'm getting hot right now hearing you talking about it.
And so now I'm telling my age. So I'm searching my territory, and I know where, I know the demographics. So if I'm looking at an apartment complex, and I know that it's in the hood, in the underserved community, then the first thing I'm shooting when I go to these doors, if I can see there's evidence that there's a kid, and you know how I knew if there was a kid home. A kid is gonna always mess up the blinds in the front of the house. So the blinds are messed up in the front of the house. If there's little fingerprints on the glass window, the windows when you're walking up the stairs or walking up, to go to the front door, because most apartment complexes you got to pass by the front windows before you get to the door.
Right.
So I'm looking at all of that before. So when you answer the door, I got you, because I've already done my surveillance and my research. So first thing hey, $25 a month. I got Cartoon Network and Disney World. Disney. That is a babysitter for that kid.
Ooh.
And sell it.
Sold right there.
Yeah.
Sold.
If you're a student or a young adult, then it's BET. If you're in that neighborhood.
Right.
Now, when I go to another neighborhood, if it's an upper neighborhood, then I'm gonna talk about the importance of having CNN and watching your old favorites from back in the day. So your old TV land and that sort of thing. So you gotta know your audience, and so nobody's gonna give me 5 to 7 seconds to say, okay, I've been living all this time without cable, and you asked me for $25, which back in like 2000, 2001, that was a lot.
Yeah.
So you asked me for $25 and then like $50, $60 a month. I don't think I want to do that. So I had to sell them like, well, what else can you get a babysitter for $20? I swear, if you get that kid some cereal, sit him in front of the TV, and put it on Disney, Cartoon Network,
get attached to the TV.
you're good.
Right.
And so they would just laugh and be like, you know what, where do I sign up at? And so that was the example of providing a solution to a problem. The problem is your kids all over the place. Solution is I got something that'll entertain them, sit them down for 5-6 hours at a time, and then the rest is on you. And so that's how you have to be in business.
So tell me over time, if you don't mind me asking, how many doors do you think you sold within real estate?
Oh, I've been in real estate a long time.
I know, man. It's like your portfolio is, I can't imagine.
I don't even know, man. I don't even know where.
Over the hundreds?
Oh yeah.
Definitely? Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, at least.
I bet.
I would say at least over 300 families.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I've been, wow. Now you making me think.
Man, you've been a blessing to all those 300 families. You think about it. Looking back at it now.
And that's the great thing about what I do. I sit on the board of a neighborhood out in Pearland, and I sold so many houses back there to where anytime I go back there, I see a neighbor jogging or something. I roll down the window, I'm waving, and it's just like Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, right? And or they'll send me a little clipping or something because they saw me at a ribbon cutting or something in the neighborhood, or they have a question about the pool or the lake or something. They know that's on the board, so they want to come in underneath the scene and be like, well, what y'all doing next? I love that, and it's crazy because that particular neighborhood reminds me of like me and my kids. We go out there, we use the pool all the time, although we don't live out there. I'm on the board, so they give me a key, and so we go out there and we see somebody come up, and it's like, wow, I remember when they were stressed, and we got their house built, and the kids have no knowledge of how hard it was for mom and dad to get that house. It's a great feeling, and thank God I got hundreds of those stories. It's a blessing.
For a lot of good people in a great position, for sure. So tell me, from building a reputation as Houston's #1 real estate investment advisor, along with having an exceptional real estate portfolio, to co-authoring on a bestseller, where do we go from here?
It's a good question. I'm diversifying away from not away from real estate, but I have a son and a daughter. So my son's coming up on his senior year in high school. Athlete, so he should be going on a collegiate level. But right now, my focus is to get things teed up for him, so that he can keep the family legacy going. So right now, real estate for me is more automated. I'm getting ready to automate it, meaning that I'm getting ready to do some film and that sort of thing, and kind of educate, roll out into the education form. Because doing what I'm doing, I have to be here. I have a lot of different, at any given moment, I have about 11 to 15, during the pandemic, after the pandemic, before the pandemic, I had way more people, but about 11 to 15 people a day working on my behalf, and that's great. But then I still do some of the work too, so I'm kind of parlaying away from that so that I can hand it over to him. And then I started a sanitation company as well, so we go in and we sanitize businesses and disinfect in hopes to get rid of infectious diseases such as COVID-19 we're dealing with now. So working on that. I had an ice cream shop too.
Yeah.
My daughter wanted me to kind of get that back.
Yeah,
my sister. Yeah, my sister. One of my sisters. She makes desserts, so cakes and tarts and cookies and all that. So she has this bright idea of dragging me back into the ice cream business so that we can do ice cream and cake. So I don't know, but definitely diversifying my portfolio of businesses that I own, as well as kind of automating and getting into education more so, because then I can be in the comfort of a studio like this and just, just cast game, cast education without having to actually get out here and flip houses. Right. So I'm getting a little old, man. I'm 40 years old, so I think. Hey, man. But I've been in the game a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
I got my license when I was 23.
Wow.
So I'm like 40, I'm like OG. I feel like an OG in the game. I'm like,
you just seasoned, just a little seasoned.
Yeah, there you go. So I may have about 7, 8 more years, and then I'm just gonna get into education, man, and let my son take over.
Pass down that knowledge.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful, man. It's a pleasure having you come and sit down with me, man. Thank you very much.
Pleasure's all mine.
I'm your host, Amari G. If this is your first time tuning in, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you for watching.